Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest, and then listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. You did math, PK. I couldn't be more impressed.
I heard Keanu Reeves, the actor, saying at this stage in his life, he doesn't want to argue with anybody. If somebody comes up to him and says 2 + 2 = 5, he says, fine.
I don't have time for you. I'm not going to spend time on this.
Right.
I totally get that.
Right.
I don't think I've ever identified with him more.
I actually thought of you when I read that.
Yeah.
Because I know that's been one of your philosophies.
It has been.
Right.
The clock is ticking, and nobody knows. I mean, you can live 30 minutes, you can live 30 years.
Right.
Who knows? But you start
We're
doing...
all running out of time.
Yeah, you start doing math as you turn 40, 50, 60, and you look at how long your parents and your grandparents lived. And once you start doing the math, I have 10 years left, I have 20, I have 30. We had a boss. I thought he and I had conflict, but he said a couple of really smart things that have stuck with me. And one of them was when he turned 50, he had a friend say to him, you have 15 good summers left. Use them wisely. You might get more than that, but you don't know. But the odds are you got about 15 good summers left. You can argue the numbers, but the message really resonated, right? And my grandparents were traveling into their 70s, so who knows? But you really do feel that time running out, And if you do the math, if you're entering the fourth quarter of life, like, what do I want to waste time on this stuff for?
Winter is here.
I want to find 3 people that I like to talk to and golf with them. If you're good. I mean, you're much better than me. We play with people who probably aren't as good as me. But as long as you like their company and you find them interesting, you're walking around, the birds are chirping, the sun is out, the trees are blowing in the wind. Awesome. Good time.
So is the answer.
Yeah, the answer is. But you did math here. 100 days from kickoff for Utah football. Is this the year? I thought this would get a little more reaction. I was surprised college football has such a place in our community. We don't have the NFL. So this is the highest form of football in our backyard. Whether you root for the Utes, the Cougars, the Aggies, the Wildcats, whatever, this is it. You may have an NFL team way over there in Denver or San Francisco or wherever. Seems like we have a lot of Chiefs fans now all of a sudden.
Yeah, who knew?
Okay. I'll give it up for a couple of them. They were talking about him when the Chiefs are mediocre, so they're on the
Scally.
Scally is one of them. Our former producer, Jason. Bowler. I mean, that's 3 Chiefs fans I can say who, they've been in a long time. They didn't turn into a Chiefs fan, when Andy Reid rolled into town.
I've been a Chiefs fan since Eddie Podolak.
One of the great names. The name from my youth. Way to go. 9-year-old me. Ed Podolak.
Buck Buchanan, Otis Taylor.
Buck Buchanan, he would take you out.
Come on, man. And even if I didn't want to go out.
This picture of Buck Buchanan bull rushing some guy and just tipping some poor offensive lineman over backwards. I'm not going around you. I'm going right through you.
Right.
Anyway, 100 days from kickoff, half a dozen responses, and most of them along the line of, Kevin, hold your horses. Still 3 months of summer first. Caleb, yeah, it's the Utes year, just like the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, wait.
Well, the fact that it's not summer yet, so what?
Yeah, we've had hype for local teams at this point before. Yeah. And the Utes look like they're lined up for a pretty good season. We can argue how good, and obviously they got to keep Cam healthy. I get that.
Cameron Rising being able to play is the difference maker, clearly.
Right. It's a huge swing in their season.
If he plays and he's available, he's going to play well. He's a winner. The kid say whatever you want. He doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. Yeah, but he's a winner.
But they get to 10 wins.
And if he's healthy, I believe they will be playing in the conference title game. Remember, you only have to finish second. You don't have to finish. You don't have to win the league. Who cares if you win the league, especially now more than ever, because if you win the thing, then you get the invite into the playoff. So winning the league is like...
And when you say winning the league, you mean having the best record after 9 conference games.
It doesn't matter.
It does not.
You just got to finish second.
Yep. And then you got to win the championship game.
So we could debate, who's going to be favored? Who cares who's going to be favored? It's irrelevant. Yeah. Well, it's irrelevant anyway, even if they are favored, because you got to still play the game. But it doesn't. If Oklahoma State, I can see Oklahoma State, Kansas State, maybe even Kansas, because they're in a similar situation to what
Get to
the
7.
Utes have.
Can you get to 7-2 and win a tiebreaker? Kansas might be able to do that.
If their quarterback stays healthy.
K-State might be able to do that.
They've got some players.
Oklahoma State might be able to do that.
We had the Kansas
Right.
guy on while you were gone. They've got some players. Oklahoma State has a ton of guys. They've got the most guys returning, I believe.
Right.
I've done the research. And so
There are
right
at least
now,
5
I would
teams.
say, but I would go with Oklahoma State and Utah. And I don't care if the Utes are finished second or picked second or if they finish second. It doesn't matter. Then you get to Dallas. Do you beat those
That
guys
team
outside
that
of
day.
Dallas? But you get the point.
Yeah.
Right now, I expect Oklahoma State and Utah. Those are my 2 picks to play. Everything else is irrelevant.
Right. But you won't be surprised if Arizona, Kansas, or Kansas State elbows their way into that game and knocks somebody out.
Yeah, because there's a million things that can happen between
100%.
now and then.
Right. But those teams all look like they're in a pretty good space, too.
I mean, the Utes got decimated with injuries last year. Obviously, they would have been better. There's no question about that. We understand that. Who knows what would have happened, but I believe they would have been better. I believe if they had a lot of their guys, they wouldn't have gone down to Tucson and got run off the field from the first quarter on. They may not have won the game, but
they'd have been in it.
Yeah, and so,
in it for longer than half a quarter.
If it only got a handful of responses, that does surprise me because people are jacked about Utah football, and you should be. You most definitely should be. Right now, I would go with Oklahoma State just based on experience because I think Utah, again, lost a fair amount of talent, really good talent to the NFL. And to expect other guys, next man up sounds good, but next man up, NFL caliber, if you just replace a Cole Bishop like it's replacing a pair of socks, then that program is a whole heck of a lot better than I ever thought. You take 2 starting safeties who are going to play in the NFL. I believe Bishop is most likely he's probably going to do like he did in college. Get some playing time. Midway through his freshman year, he's starting. I sort of expect the same thing with the Bills. I think that's who drafted him, right?
Wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah.
But whether he earns it by beating somebody out or it's the NFL, if you're the third safety and there's an injury.
But to think somebody can come in and have the same level of production that he had
but what about
immediately?
What about other guys? Like Lander Barton made a big step from year 1 to year 2. He makes another big step to year 2, year 3. Yeah, you don't have the difference maker at safety, but you got this difference maker over here at
Sure, but that's
linebacker.
a different position.
It is. It is, but you always hear coaches say you're not going to replace like for like. You lose a great guy there, your team gets better because you get better. You get better somewhere else.
But they've also lost the linebacker. One of the linebackers was Demooney, who went down. Somebody went down.
Yeah, in the spring.
Demooney.
Yeah,
in the spring, Demooney went down.
And we talked about Medlock. He could have maybe stayed and played, but now he's off to SMU. And Jonah Ellis. But they got dudes there to replace him. I just don't know that immediately you have A+ replacement with an A+ player. So it might take a little time.
And the other thing we can't factor into all of this is who in the transfer portal lands and really becomes a big part of the team, who's kind of there and who's just a bust. And all the teams are dealing with that. Everything is in flux.
Oh, the other teams, because I don't think any of the Utah guys, I don't know that they'll be big-time players. I still look at Singer has the background, but it's 2 years ago now. Can he get it here? But I don't think the other guys that they got will be busts. If Singer doesn't recreate what he did in Tucson 2 years ago, I believe he'll be better than what he had at SC last year. So he may not be the 1,000-yarder 2 years ago, but I don't think he'll be the less than 300-yarder that he was at SC last year. You follow me?
Yeah, but I think that's still the kind of question that has to be asked is exactly how good is that transfer going to be? And I get your point.
Bust.
I get your point. You can rule out bust, but whether he's 25 catch, 400-yard guy, or he's 50 catch, 800-yard guy, or he's 70 catch, 1,200-yard guy can have a big impact on how their season
And I think they'll
plays
have
out.
massive production from the tight end.
Yeah, I don't see how they
Or
can't.
which would be tight ends.
Yeah, tight ends. There's too many guys.
Yeah.
And whether that means that one guy piles up all the stats or, 3 guys are all pretty good, the position ought to make a lot of plays.
I think what we'll see is what we saw in their first Rose Bowl run, where it was spread out a little bit more. We won't see Dalton Kincaid because Keithy went down,
right,
and Kincaid blew up. I think we'll see more that it was when those guys were healthy. And who was the other? There was another guy who played with the Raiders, Fotheringham.
Cole Fotheringham.
He was, they had some really good production there. I think you'll see that a little bit more with Keithy leading the way. Yeah, and they'll put and Andy Ludwig, he just loves Keith. He loves being able to just move him all over the place and do all sorts of stuff and get him in mismatches and surprise defenses.
I'll never forget when he started running on fly sweeps. I never saw a tight end run a fly sweep, which made it all the better because the defense wasn't looking for it either.
Right.
And bang, he was in the end zone. I think he was against Arizona, Rice Eccles.
The only thing that you can think that can derail Rising and Keithy is having to spend so much time watching their kids play high school ball.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Sadly, I do. You're making fun of how old they are.
Well, we did it for years for BYU.
Absolutely. Now it's all over college football.
We got to take shots at the geezers of Utah.
There'll be a little bit of a step back here in a year or two. We'll be done with the COVID bonus year.
Oh, I think this is it.
Is this the last one? I haven't done the
believe.
math. Okay.
Yeah, I thought so.
Unless it's an occasional return missionary here or there. Where the timing worked out right.
Yeah.
Because 20 was a freshman year, and they went for 2 years. And
BYU always have a few older guys. And then, actually, and with the maybe you'll see some more in that the NCAA seems to restore eligibility at a drop of a hat.
The 6th year is way more common than it used to be.
Yeah. So if you get an injury, like Taysom Hill ended up being a little older because he went on a mission, and plus he had some multiple season-ending injuries and all that stuff. So I think he was 26, 25. And they make such a big deal about that, and Taysom Hill's still playing in the NFL. I mean, he's not a big-time star, but what?
I've never understood why the 24 and 25-year-old guys get dismissed by the NFL as too old. The coaches and the GMs are there for 5-year tops in most cases, so the 24-year-old's going to be 29. If they're good enough and healthy enough, they can still be playing.
Sure, but they all think about progression. So you're going to be whoever you are, that's who you are. You're not going to get better because you're older, theoretically.
Theoretically.
That's the line of thinking.
I don't get it. To me, if I were running an NFL team, I'm like, here's a little inefficiency in the system. People are underestimating these guys. Be willing to use that 6th and 7th round draft pick and pick that guy, and everybody else is like, no, I'm not doing it. I'll get him as a free agent.
A 25-year-old is going to be more mature than a 21-year-old, most likely.
Right.
Especially if that 25-year-old is still playing college, then he's gone through some hard times that puts him in that position, and then he's used to being around younger guys and used to being a leader.
I would just remind my scouts if I were the GM, or my GM if I were the owner, and just say, can he play? If he can play, because what you said about Cole Bishop goes for a lot of guys. In a salary cap league with a hard cap, they need first and second year guys to play and contribute. If they're good enough to play and contribute, pick them. Don't worry about, he's sold, he's not going to have an 8-year career. Well, most of these guys don't have 8-year careers anyway. Is he good enough?
No, they don't.
Stay there.
And I think they develop some leadership skills. You realize there'll be guys, teammates of Cam Rising, that he literally is 7 years older than.
Right.
That's a massive difference from
huge.
18 to 25.
Well, and Devon Vele said it on the show when you were like, you got one more year, you could come back. He's like, no, I'm done playing with 18 and 19-year-olds. And we both laughed. You know why? Some of those guys are great athletes, but they're 18 and 19. Think just in your own life, the difference between you at 25 and at 18.
Yeah.
That's 7 years. People grow up. It's a huge change in life.
I had a kid at the gym that I got to know a little bit, and he went on a mission late, and he comes back, and so I'm talking to him. So he's like 23 when he went on a mission, and we were talking.
Oh, because he's out with 18 and 19-year-olds, and he's seeing it.
Yeah, and they lowered the age to a few years back.
Right.
He said, I was so sick of babysitting those guys. And I felt like I was talking to somebody who was in my age group, and I'm way older than him. But the way he said it.
Yeah, but you both do 18-year-olds the same way. You know the difference between 18 and 25.
Yeah. Like I told you we were talking with Pablo because they got some young guys. And I was telling about how my nephew at 29 is going to go try to be a Ranger. And so they had him set up. He reports in the summer, and they had him do some weekends, and they gave him roommates, and his roommate was 17. He said the kid drove him nuts. He felt like he was his younger. He felt like it was his son. He's like, dude.
That's the gap. It's huge.
Yeah. So I would think that would be an advantage for NFL teams. So I agree with you.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Coming up next, everything you missed in this show. And we do have a poll question up now. We heard earlier in the show Tim Lacomb's pick for the conference final. You can get yours on Twitter, David DJ James. We will get to that next with Game 1 tonight with Minnesota and Dallas squaring off. Stay with us.